Hello, my name is Mrs Aviard. I'm the Head of Science at Earlham and Cadishead Academy, and I'm going to be talking through with you this PowerPoint on how best to support your child's GCSE revision in science. Science is a rewarding but challenging subject. The students are examined over 6 papers over a multitude of different disciplinaries. There are 2 biology, 2 chemistry and 2 physics papers for all students, although the length and content in these differ dependent upon whether students are studying combined science or the separate triple science. The following 3 slides will go over the content in the biology, chemistry and physics exams for those students studying combined science. For any students that are doing the separate triple route, please consult the other PowerPoint on triple science to look at their papers in more detail. The biology exam for combined science students will consist of 2 1-hour 15-minute papers. Each one is worth 70 marks and it contributes to 16.7% of the double GCSE. There's a multitude of questions, both multiple choice, structured, short answer and open response longer questions. There are 2 papers, as I said previously. There are 4 topics to focus on in the first one: cell biology, organisation, infection and response and bioenergetics. And then paper 2 focuses on homeostasis and response, which students are studying at the moment, inheritance, variation and evolution, and ecology. The next slide is the chemistry examinations. There's 2 1-hour and 15-minute exams for combined science students. Each paper is worth 70 marks again, and it also follows a similar structure. Topics obviously are specific to chemistry: atomic structure and the periodic table, bonding, quantitative chemistry, chemical changes and energy changes are in paper 1, whereas paper 2 is the rate and extent of chemical change, organic chemistry, chemical analysis, chemistry of the atmosphere and using resources. The final papers the students sit are the physics papers. There's 2 1-hour and 15 minutes for these as well. Same amount of marks and structure. The topics for paper 1 are energy, electricity, particle model of matter and atomic structure. And paper 2 are forces, waves, magnetism and electromagnetism. Only if you do triple will you do space physics. While science is a challenging subject, the assessment has been made so that students can access all parts of it. The beginning of the paper is slightly easier than the end of the paper, but the middle of the paper doesn't get too challenging. The beginning of each question is staged so that students can actually answer the beginning of all of the questions. This is to build confidence and provide a rewarding experience. Please ensure when your children are at home working on past papers that they are completing all of them and not just the ones at the beginning, presuming or thinking that they may be easier for them. Those students that are on the higher tier will obviously have more high demand questions towards the end of the paper, but there is actually a section on both foundation and higher that are the same. So the end of the foundation paper is the same as the higher, so they should be trying to challenge themselves doing those as well. I can't stress enough how important it is that students arrive in school with the correct equipment. It's very important they have a scientific calculator that they are used to using. When they lend calculators from different departments, they work differently and the students cannot find the information they need on the calculator to complete the basic questions. Please make sure that your child has a scientific calculator and they know exactly how to use it. The example on the picture has now been updated, but the Casio calculator is the easiest for students to see as it shows the breakdown of the equations and also can move from standard form to normal numbers. Leading on from the importance of a calculator, it's important to note that the science exam has a large amount of mathematical skills within it. Students will be tested to at least the standard of foundation tier maths within science, and there is a minimum of 10% maths in biology, 20% in chemistry and 30% in physics. Some of those do not just use numbers, so there's drawing line graphs with a range of lines of best fits, drawing tangents to calculate rates on the higher paper, rearranging equations at times, obviously using multiple equations. Recalling equations may not be necessary, it's not yet been confirmed. We have been told that students will be given a formula sheet, but we don't know what that will yet look like. They do need to be able to convert between units. They need to understand orders of magnitude and standard form. Within their revision guides, there is extra information on how to tackle those math skills if they are not sure on those. It would be really useful for you to check at home that your child understands the difference between command verbs. Key command verbs in science are listed on the screen now. A comparison, for example, if you only speak, so the example on here is compare aerobic and anaerobic respiration. If you only talk about aerobic and then talk about anaerobic without actually linking the two and making that comparison between them using comparative language, then you will no longer get any marks on that question. The same with an evaluate. It's really clear. It needs to be structured that you give advantages, disadvantages, and then finally you must give your opinion and a reason why, so a final conclusion. Please make sure your child is very confident with these command verbs, and they can always ask their teacher for some extra examples if they need them. At the moment, I have put in an example of the physics equations. In previous years, students will actually have needed to memorise these. At the moment, we are being told that they will be given to us, but we're not quite sure to what degree they will be given at the moment. The example on here is the triple physics, so please do not worry if your child is doing combined science. This is a slightly different example, and we will be giving more information when we hear from the exam boards about whether they need to memorise any at all. Last week, your child will have sat some small assessments on Unit 1s back from Year 10, and they were revising for that over the past 3 or 4 weeks. They will also be completing mocks in December, and these mocks will be the paper 1 content that I told you about before. It will be paper 1 for biology, chemistry and physics for all combined students and for all triple science students. To help students prepare, we have been setting weekly homework on Seneca, and the students have been using the Cornell note-taking method alongside this. We set aside a 1-hour lesson to teach them this study skill, which can be used for later in life also. The students must achieve 80% or above, and if not, reattempts must be made. We also have EPS, which is fortnightly 30-minute sessions. Students are aware of who needs to attend this. The registers and times will change post-mocks at Christmas when we get more up-to-date information on their current grades. On the right-hand side, you can see an example and a picture of Seneca. This is for the Physics Foundation. The students are given pieces of information which they need to make notes on using the note-taking method, and then they answer simple questions. It is about repetition and retrieval of information they were taught in Year 10. In addition to the homework that you were just shown for Seneca, we also gave the students CGP revision guides last year, and we'll be using these for additional homework and any other Period 6 EPS support that we need to with specific students. We've actually produced some documents which I'm going to show you on the next slide, and they are there to enable students to answer recall questions, again retrieving information they've done before using the revision guide, and then building upon that using application questions which aren't directly answered using the revision guide, but some thought is need to be put into that. You can see on this example, it cells a microscopy. It tells them exactly what pages to read. The knowledge questions are simple recall, so they can be found using the revision guide. And then the application questions require some understanding from the students to complete that. After Christmas, we will be working on fluency tests. These fluency tests help the students work better at working scientifically. It's about repeating key scientific terms and skills that they need alongside the maths skills and the science content that is taught for them in Year 10 and 11. This will be a weekly Fluency Friday. Again, this doesn't start till after Christmas, just so we can have a really focused approach on the run-up to the exams in the summer. So what can you as students do to prepare? Well, in class, you need to listen carefully and contribute. There are very specific words, very specific equation and ideas that you need to know. If you're watching the modelling your teacher is doing, it will make it easier when you move on to the independent work. The notes you make for homework need to be neat and completed fully. They are a very crucial resource for you. You need to ask questions in lesson. Don't worry about asking. There might be something you've not understood. You may have missed a piece of information, and that small question may help you out in the future. At home, you need to complete all your homework. You need to look over the notes you've made regularly. You need to purchase any additional revision guides if you have misplaced yours. I need to keep a list of keyword definitions, especially those command verbs, and make sure you're using Seneca. Further suggestions for help at home from parents. Please check that they are doing their homework. It is crucial that they do that for their progress. The useful websites we've identified are Seneca and BBC Bitesize. We're keeping them nice and small because they've got revision guides and they have quite in-depth notes within their class books as well. If anyone needs anything, please don't hesitate to contact me. My name is Mrs. Aviad and I'm the Head of Science.